because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. A video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set on the cloud. Good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Dice Company. No, that's a different place altogether. Faith and Geekery, but we are all talking about Dice and the company within. Welcome, folks. That has been a manic few minutes, so apologies if you've been trying to catch us on the stream. My computer has been playing up, and by that I blame Chrome in the uttermost. Tonight, Becca is also not with us. She was hoping to be, but plans have changed as life does. However, I am not only joined by one person, but we are joined by two people. So tonight we are joined by Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
For a moment, I thought the audio had gone. But welcome, Tom.
Silent.
How are you doing, Tom? You right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You?
I'm all right. I feel a bit manic.
Breathe.
Yeah, I feel a little bit manic because I've had to kind of catch up, and try and get the computer to work. But I'm not only joined by Tom, I'm also joined by Tim. Good evening, Tim.
Hello.
How are you doing, Tim? You all right?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm discovering I have more dice than I thought I did, as I just keep opening boxes and finding more dice at the bottom of boxes.
I mean, I'm fairly sure we could kind of come onto this in a little while. Is it a good thing to find more dice, or is it a bad thing to find more dice? Do we need to have an intervention?
I mean, I'm also finding books that I forgot I had as well, including a book called The Psychology of Methodism.
That sounds worrying.
We'll leave that to another time.
From 1965.
Okay.
So one wonders whether The Psychosis of Methodism might be the title, but we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah,
maybe so. And I guess we'd like to.
I'm liking the pink coordination, by the way. I've deliberately matched my sweatshirt to Tim's headphones.
Okay. For those that can't see, Tom is wearing a lovely pink sweatshirt.
Oh yes, of course.
Tim is wearing pink headphones, and Mark has a pink binder on the back of his bookcase just above his head.
I mean, yeah.
Well spotted.
There's quite a few bits, but it was interesting because I was frantically trying to find something pink in your picture, Tim, and I couldn't see the headphones. I thought they were slightly offish white, so apologies.
I used to also have a matching pink controller, but my child broke it. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes. Those moments of when, yes, your children break things. Anyway, what have we been up to this week? What geeky things have we been doing or otherwise?
I've been ordering and receiving Christmas Lego. Well, no, Winter Village Lego, I should say, rather than Christmas Lego. It's not Lego I'm getting for Christmas. It's Lego that's Winter Village Lego. So I've got that. I have been checking out the latest reveals from Warhammer, from Games Workshop for several of their systems, including coming up with paint schemes for the next Kill Team box set, while I'm still building and painting the ones that have literally just been released. So nice and geeky there. That probably does me for now.
So there's always something I wanted to ask you, Tom, about your Christmas Lego.
Right, yeah.
You know how like folks in the States put like the train tracks underneath the Christmas trees? Do you do that with the Lego?
Do I put it under the Christmas tree?
No, like all
No.
the old sets. Do you just like put all the old sets out slowly under the Christmas tree?
Oh no, well not under the Christmas tree, but no, they so it all goes up in a big display every year. There's in the house we're currently in. There's a shelf right above a long curved shelf right above the television. So every December, everything comes off that shelf. All of the Lego models, including the new ones, get rebuilt or built for the first time and put on display, and then they come back down in January.
So there's something here about the practicalities of building and rebuilding Lego. So do you have to factor that in, like starting in November, or does that get earlier in the year, earlier?
There's a bit of that. I generally try and start kind of very early December, and then it's just a case of just working through so that it's all done in a couple of weeks. Basically, any other hobbying that I have, including there's no miniature painting, there's no playing game. Every spare moment is right. Need to build next Lego set. Need to build next Lego set.
I was going to say, I think we've got a photo a little bit later of your purchasing, so that would be good. I've been working on cosplay costume for Comic-Con, and the only thing I can release is that I've been using some yellow paint. So that'll be it. But I was going to kind of create other elements, but in the end I have actually just bought some bits just to make my life easier, as we only have a couple of weeks to go. So yeah, that'll be just a bit more straightforward, and life feels a little bit busy right now, so that's good. Angela has put love Tom's Christmas Lego. It's become an Advent tradition.
I do put it up on Facebook as I'm going along and things. So, and I always start with the new ones. So the new ones get built first because I desperately want to build them for the first time, and then everything follows. But we're not here to talk about Lego. We're here to talk about bus. But Tim, what have you been doing that's geeky?
What have I been doing? Aside from playing copious amounts of D&D,
Wow.
into which, sadly, weirdly, one of my characters died. But that was my choice. They suffered. They were knocked unconscious, and I was doing the death saves with my dice. However, I had some homebrew effect of bleeding stacks, and the bleeding persists when you're unconscious, as in real life. So I was already down a death save when I started making them. But in our game, we have something called dramatic inspiration, which for those who are DMs at home, this is a good thing to help your players recap the previous session so you know what they think happened, so you can get all your notes in order. And one of the dramatic inspirations I got was I got a coin flip where I could get either a nat 20 or a nat 1. And I was like, well, I'm doing these saves at disadvantage. I'm already down 1. I'm just going to do a coin flip just to get back up for one round. And no, I got a nat 1. Which was fine because I was then Jaegering another character for a player who was missing for the rest of the combat. And they revived my character last session. Which is very lovely because this is meant to be a 10-session campaign. We're on now session 11.
One of those.
Yeah, when did D&D ever kind of like fall within the actual realms of like, you know, a one shot actually being a one shot rather than being 4?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's interesting because they are talking about. Oh, well, I'm excited for actually they announced the Bastion rules for the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024 rules, in which they are actually answering that question: how long is a one shot, and what you should plan for it and stuff. But the Bastion rules means that as your players, you can now build your own safe places, and you can actually DM them yourselves and have little NPCs running around that you control and not the DM.
Wow. So does that mean then the DM kind of gets involved and sends NPCs in that area, and then you have like
no, the players will be DMing it themselves.
I know, but what I'm saying is like if you have a normal environment, a normal realm where the DM is in charge, and you take one of their NPCs into your bastion, can you do that? Then does that reverse the table?
they haven't revealed that yet, but I am interested to see how that works.
Yeah.
Because, for example, my players that I'm running a campaign with, they have a house already. And I've said to them that, we'll let Handy Andrew come in later to fix the house up into a bastion with the new rules. And they are quite excited.
Very cool. Very cool. I was going to say this evening I've not managed the opportunity to set up the news, but obviously Bastion is quite an exciting thing. And we should mention, I can't remember if we mentioned at the very end of the last time, John Amos had passed away. I actually know him from Die Hard 2 as Grant, but I think others may know him from, is it West Wing or something?
Yeah, he was Admiral Fitzwallace in the West Wing.
Yeah.
And it's also the 25 years since West Wing first aired.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was there. I watched the very first episode air.
I thought you meant the White House.
No.
But they marked it by the current First Lady, the Dr. Jill Biden, actually hosted a small event with some of the existing cast and some celebrities to honour that.
Oh, that's very sweet. So yeah, I don't have any additional news for that, but I've thought if we've started a little bit later, we could go straight into our quiz. If you are happy to do so, gentlemen.
Let's do
it.
I love the fact. So I've only just realised that you've got a little subtitle there, Tim, saying "Tim of the Lincolnshire Tims." Very good. And
we have to delineate for our podcast viewers that there are two Tims.
Yes, and on the show there's at least been 3 Tims who have been guests or otherwise. So that was more for Northern Tim, but from the south.
And when I was in Cornwall, ministering in Cornwall, the local Baptist minister was a Tim, and we were regularly at things together, so he became known as the Tim and Tom Show.
Well, tonight it definitely feels like that. So, quiz time. If you've got pens and paper ready, and it's a bit quiet tonight. We've had a few apologies, and otherwise we're just going to push on for it. And starting late doesn't help. So, question number 1: which famous dog was adopted by its owner in October 1950, which is 74 years ago? Which famous dog was adopted by its owner, or when did it come to kind of when was it published? Which famous dog was adopted by its owner in October 74 years ago? Question number 2 is: what is the chance of rolling 2 20s in a row using a D20 dice? I'll take percentages or fractions.
Are these made at advantage or disadvantage?
No, just normal rolls, as in just straight kind of taking one, rolling it, and rolling it a second time. Cool. And question number 3: which Lego Advent Calendar is not an official 2024 release? So which Lego Advent Calendar is not an official 2024 release? I'm going to give you 4 options. The first one is Lego City. The second one is Disney. The third one is Lego Friends. The fourth one is Ninjago. Or as I say to my children, Ninja Go. So which Lego Advent Calendar is not an official 2024 release? Lego City, Disney, Lego Friends, Ninjago.
For those listening on the podcast, before we got given options, Tom's head looked like it was doing the calculations meme.
I don't think it would have been fair to even have asked you that if I didn't give you a multiple choice.
I was thinking that they'd removed one this year that they'd done previous years. Some that you wanted to know that. But...
I couldn't possibly say. Question number 4: how many couples have left Strictly Come Dancing 2024? I should say as of tonight, 8th of October. How many couples have left Strictly Come Dancing 2024?
Have there been any injuries?
I'll be nice. Nick's one he's had a bye, so he's not actually gone.
It means nothing to me.
Fifth and finally, what's a baby goose called? So that's number 5. What's a baby goose called? Just give you a few more moments to tot up, ponder, and otherwise.
I mean, the only thing I know about Strictly this year is Chris McCausland. Is it Chris McCausland? The comedian who's there this year, I think. He is incredibly savage towards Craig River Hallward. And I think he said, well, I'm getting all my good jokes out now because let's be honest, I won't be here past week 2.
I couldn't possibly say in case it breaks any spoilers, really. But no, I think he's definitely been entertaining and really good dancing. I think it was best. It's good to say. It's been good. It's been good to see. So, question number 1: which famous cartoon dog was adopted by its owner in October 74 years ago?
Oh, cartoon. Yeah, no, I got it wrong then. I said
I
Lassie.
I went for Pizza Dog, but you know.
Pizza Dog. Please explain.
Well, no, because there's one of the. It's not its real name, but in the Marvel comics, the dog that always eats pizza.
Lucky the Pizza Dog, adopted by Hawkeye.
Yeah.
There's an entire issue from Pizza Dog's point of view.
Yeah.
Also made a cameo in the Hawkeye TV series.
Yes, I did notice that, and I assumed it was of significant value because otherwise I'm there going, why are they giving so much screen time to this random dog?
I got very excited when I saw the dog.
Well, I got it eventually. I was like, huh? The answer is Snoopy by Charlie Brown.
Oh, I saw something about this earlier, and
sorry.
No.
Number 2, what is the chance of rolling 2 20s in a row using a D20 dice?
1 in 400.
5%.
Correct.
Oh.
And what did you say, Tim?
5%.
It's 0.5%.
Yeah.
For a moment, I thought you said 0.5%. You see,
0.25%.
Huh?
It's 0.25%. Surely. 1 in 400.
Is it?
0.5% would be 1 in 200.
Oh, is it?
1 in 4. It's 1 in 400.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry, I googled this and it came up with those things. But yeah, completely. That's really bizarre.
Maybe the 0.5 more comes from if you're rolling with advantage.
Well, I thought I'd actually done the whole disadvantage thing as well. And I thought, you know what, this is going down too many kind of rabbit holes. I'll try and keep it simple. But well done that, Tom. You got 1 in 400. Which Lego Advent Calendar is not an official 2024 release?
Ninjago.
Correct. Ninjago.
Disney's a new one this year.
Say that again.
Disney's a new one this year.
Yes. It's interesting.
Once you gave me the 4, I knew exactly which one it was because I was like, oh yeah, because Disney's the one they released this year. The City and the Friends have been going for a little while, so yeah.
Well, it's also interesting that I noticed it says Disney. That's the official title of it, but looking at the front cover, it is blatantly Disney princesses. And not like the broad spectrum of all of Disney, and this is very much kind of the. Yeah, it's making assumptions, I think, which is a bit of a shame, really, because I'm thinking, actually, if it is properly Disney, you can go for a whole wide spectrum and not just kind of go down a certain route. But yeah, it was. I thought I'd ask that. How many couples have left Strictly Come Dancing in 2024 as of tonight?
2.
4?
2. Just 2 couples have gone.
Because we are on. Guess. I will be very clear.
I forgot. I want to. Yeah, well, we have just had 2 weeks but Nick, I've forgotten from No, is it
Nick Knowles?
Yeah,
DIY SOS.
Yeah. He's had a bit of a, is it called like a bye or something, or a pass or something, where he's actually injured himself, but he's coming back next week, and so it may have caught some people out. I keep on wanting to say Nick Nolte, which is a completely different character or a person altogether. So question number 5: what's a baby goose called?
Ryan.
Oh, I was so tempted. I was so tempted to do a bit of a QI klaxon if anybody mentioned Ryan, but be glad that I did not. So well done. How many points did you do? How well did you do?
I got 4.
I got
well done.
1.
Blimey, that's quite a spectrum, folks. But well done for getting 1. Well done for getting 4. Collectively, you got 5. Not in the same one though. So tonight we are talking about dice and dice goblins, and I think I also want to kind of talk about kind of the way that we play and kind of how much of it, like a game involving dice, kind of influences things, changes things, swaps things up. And I think this kind of ranges everything from, dare I say, Beetle Drive through to D&D through to what's the one where you have all the dice and it's only the dice? A Pertu? No, what is it? A Paratu? Oh, I forgot what it's called. Never mind. I should have done the research. And so, yeah, dice are a fascinating thing. And I guess, first of all, we should start off with the dice and the collecting of dice and otherwise. I believe some of us have already shared a little bit. So we're going to go to our dice gallery, which is going to be here. No graphics have been spent using this. I've just, for those on the podcast, I've just put dice instead of geeky, and just to share a few of the dice. Tom, here's some of your dice, which are like, I've got to say, what is that sort of? Is it sort of white things coming out from the dice? How would you describe that?
I've got them here. Can I get the camera? Yeah. So basically they're plastic. They're a plastic frame, green plastic frame, with a rubbery substance in the middle, designed to look like green dice with yellowy green pus coming out of them. The faction, therefore, is a kind of diseased faction. So they were GW special dice created for the release of that particular faction, and because they're plastic frames with foam in them, they're incredibly light. They are not good dice in any shape, way, or form. In terms of casinos wanting to guarantee that you can get a 1 in 6 guaranteed roll, they are not that. But they're quite fun, and I tend nowadays not to actually roll them for games, but I do use them as markers in games and things, and they're just a bit of fun. I quite enjoy them.
Yeah. And then the other dice that you've got on here, is the can you describe those as well?
Unhelpful dice. So these are dice. They were. I've just realised they're actually. They're translucent. I don't think I'd ever realised they were translucent.
Podcast listeners, Tom just lifted it up to the light to look through.
Yeah, there we go. So anyway, these again, they were a faction dice that GW released for one of the factions, Sisters of Battle, who are nice and religious. And one of their icons, one of their symbols, is fleur de lis. So this dice has, instead of round spots, it has fleur de lis on it. So it has 3 fleur de lis and 4 fleur de lis, and I'll put my teeth in a minute. But what it has is GW always put a skull on their wands, because obviously natural 1, bad thing, skulls. But they always put a symbol for the 6, for whatever faction it is. The symbol being a fleur de lis. So therefore you have a dice which has a 6, which is a single fleur de lis. This is not helpful.
It
was just a really bad design. It's noticeable that they've released the faction again and do new dice for them. They did not make the same mistake twice.
Johnny, good.
But yeah, so again, I tend to use them as markers or for special dice, because if you just, otherwise every time you roll them, you have to remind your opponent, no, the 1 is a 6. It's just,
I bet that doesn't go down well. Yeah, really. Yeah.
it's just ludicrous.
We're gonna move on to the next dice. These are yours, Tim.
Yeah, I have a few. That's the ones I found at that point. I've since found more.
Blimey, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so I'm the kind of, for those that can't, for our podcast viewers, you're seeing photos of just all kinds of dice in a box. That's the way I store dice. I am not one of those who will neatly put them in drawers or fishing tackle boxes like my partner. I will just put all of them together in a single book box.
So I've got a little coffee cup which has my coffee cup dice in it, or coffee dice in it. I've got my brother-in-law had made me a little box for my dice to go in here, and these are usually my my best dice go in this one as like a these are on their good behaviour, and then I just have a random bag of little ones just thrown in because they don't make the grade.
So I'd have a tiny like little wooden storage tray for them. But they're my sandstone gem dice, which are incredibly delicate, as in when I got them, they already started chipping.
Oh, wow.
So I got them and I just keep them. I don't use them. They're just really nice and sparkly, but they come as a little pendant, which made of the same sandstone, and I just gave that to my partner. So they wear a bit of my dice everywhere. But in terms of food dice, for those that exclusively join us on the live stream or follow us later, podcast viewers, you should subscribe. We have these dice, which are, at the time, this was one of the first pressings of this die from a company. What sweet does that remind you of? For those listening on podcast,
so it's green and white. Majority.
It's a neon green top and a white bottom. That's solid.
Oh, really? Don't know.
Yeah, it's the frog, the squishy jelly frogs you can get in Haribo.
Oh, okay. Are those are Haribo dice?
No.
I didn't realise that Haribo did a squishy green frog, so I didn't know it would be a dice.
So we had a friend of ours who ran a dice company in Canada called Ice Cream Dice, and they produced their first Kickstarter was lots of dice that were ice cream Neapolitan flavor, stuff like that. Then they branched out into some fruit ones, so we have some watermelon dice, and then this was like one of the first printings of like their like sweet inspired dice. So I got the which, like, you tell the first printing because on the D6 the liquid on the 4 didn't go all the way down to the bottom and it floated up. But that was so that we got the frog inspired dice as well.
Folks,
I'm from off screen. I'm being passed more dice.
Oh, blimey! Wow.
This is the flip side of our family. I am the dice dragon who will hoard his dice in large piles.
Yeah.
And my partner will put them all into little trays like that.
Wow.
Or fishing tackle boxes.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
I mean, folks, so for those on the podcast, Tim has been loaded up with a ridiculous amount, not ridiculous, a large amount of, which some may see as a ridiculous amount, but we are all for encouraging.
But here's the thing. So my partner's really lovely and I adore them deeply. Every time we meet people, so if you've not met my partner before, the chances are you will be handed a set of dice. Because we have dice everywhere. And if we meet, so we just met some friends of ours, met their partner for the first time over the weekend, and we just gave them a set of dice.
That's very sweet.
And I think, if I remember rightly, this dice that I'm about to hold up to the screen here. Is this the one you made? Yes. This is the one they actually made.
Fantastic.
I've
got a lot of patience and respect for anybody who can create dice. I have tried to make a few, and the bubbles, the pressure, all that kind of stuff, the resin, it just it makes me glaze over in adoration of those who can, and I must try harder for those who haven't, because it is blooming hard to do.
Sadly, she can't actually make them anymore because they become allergic to the resin.
Yes, that is a regular thing.
But what we have got is there's some clay that we've used that we can make slightly like the same kind of like liquid clay that hardens up the same process and fits the same molds. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, very fantastic. So, folks, I was going to show you my D100, which is almost like a little ball, and it is it's just slightly bigger than a ping pong ball, slightly smaller than a tennis ball, and it's got 100 numbers on it. And so for the rest of this evening, I'm going to roll this, and we're going to see what if we had imaginary characters. I have got the Wild Magic Surge table here from the Player's Handbook.
Hang on.
Just 5e.
Is that though including the new one that's just been released?
No, it isn't. So, I mean, if you'd like to do a comparison,
I am bringing up the 2024 rules as we speak.
So I've just rolled a 60. And so here it says you regain your lowest level expended spell slot. So that's what would have happened in the 5e edition.
I'm bringing it up now. Wild Magic Sorcery has its own table. What's the bottom? 60, you said?
Yeah.
You cast a random spell. If the spell normally requires concentration, it does not require concentration. And the spell lasts for the full duration. Roll a d10.
And that does the duration.
No. That's actually the type of spell that you cast.
Oh, wow. Oh, fantastic.
So would you like to roll a d10?
Yes, if I can find one.
See, this is what, for simple war gamers like me, everything is a d6. There are war games that use other dice as well.
What's 0 on a?
That's a 10.
Oh, it's a 10. There you go.
So you cast See Invisibility.
Very good.
If you cast a 9, you cast Polymorph on yourself and you transform into a goat.
Nice. So, folks, as we do, and we're going to come back to that, we're going to keep on doing it. But I think for me, I want to kind of start just talking about dice and the way that it kind of impacts a game, because especially in D&D, and I think we'll start off there, you can have this kind of brilliant concept of a character. You can have an idea of their character, their persona, their charisma, how they kind of interact with the world. But when you then kind of play it in such a way with that involves dice, then it's all about chance, isn't it? It becomes a sudden game of risk taking, and you're playing against the dice to see whether you are going to be successful or not. And I remember my very first D&D character was meant to be this kind of wise sage sorcerer, and because of my dice rolls, he was a bumbling idiot, and he had all this kind of, the hopes and the dreams were dashed, and suddenly became much more like a really poor Rincewind from the Discworld sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Not only did the kind of spells not work, they completely failed, and the rest of the party were like, "Oh, you're going to do a spell then, hey?" Because it was just inevitable that it was going to go wrong. And unfortunately, he was also a wild magic sorcerer, so there was this moment every so often I would roll, and again, I'm going to do it again. Number 20. You cast grease centered on yourself. So it's go on. What's on the D&D one?
You're subjected to an effect that lasts 1 minute unless the description says otherwise. Roll a d8. I have a d8 on me. I'll just quickly roll it.
Thank you.
The d8. Where's that d8 box? There it is. So 2. Your size increases by 1 category.
That's a pretty cool one, actually. Yes, so it's interesting, isn't it, of how we can have these ambitions and goals, and yet they come tumbling down very quickly because it depends on your dice roll. For this latest campaign, I was building my character, and we did now. Tim, you might know the reference to this, but basically you roll for your stats.
Yeah. 4d6 drop the lowest.
Yeah, I rolled 4 d20s all at the same time, and I got.
Whoa! You rolled all your d20s.
Yes.
Oh, that I've not heard of that one before, which is interesting.
Oh no! In fact, was it d6s? D6s.
Yeah, but like if you're rolling
yeah.
if you're rolling 4d20, that means you could get a stat theoretically up to 80.
Yeah, no, sorry, I meant D1s, and I rolled them all at the same time. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just go for this. Already, people knew that I was rubbish at rolling dice, and I rolled all 4 dice, and they all turned out 1s. And in the end, even the DM was just like, in the end, the DM was just like, just we'll allocate you stats. It's just it's not going to work, is it?
There's a lot of house rules around that, where because there are people in this world, such as Mark, who are unlucky in their dice rolls, and the dice gods do not look favorably on them. But what happens is, as game masters, we have a rule. Well, like my rule for most of my campaigns, if I do rolled stats, is you roll all your stats. If the total is less than 70, then you re-roll. Because that way, unless you got like, you say for example, you're a wizard and you've managed to get an 18, and you're like, great, I've got my max stats straight away. That way, it stops people who have incredibly bad rolls that make their stats look like less than a peasant.
And in terms of how bad, just to get, you rolled 4 1s on 4d6. That's a 1 in 1,296 chance.
Yeah, but and I think this is it, and this is why I wanted to raise this as a thing, really, because I actually am quite accepting the fact that I know, but I just don't make it a big deal, because I'm rubbish at rolling dice, and you can guarantee, even like, I mean, I guess I've been doing D&D for maybe 7 years now, 4 years on this latest campaign, and you know what? Don't expect me to get her a high one, for anything perception, not, and even my wife's character, who lost an eye 2 sessions ago rolling at disadvantage, got higher on a perception check than me, with rolling with advantage. So I was rolling with advantage, they were rolling with disadvantage, and they still got, like, I think it was like 5 higher than me, and therefore they were able to assess the situation better than me. And it's just, and I'm not bothered by it, but it is just funny of how it affects and how it rolls out.
And I think with something like Dungeons, with D&D, other role-playing games, especially cooperative, storytelling, it's a game, but it's a storytelling device. You're telling a story together. That is that has an element of storytelling, So yeah, so Mark's character is the klutz. He's just the klutz. Just whatever we do, we stick him out in front. It's all going to go wrong, but it might go really hilariously wrong. And if it doesn't, then well, never mind. Whereas in the games that I play, it can be really frustrating for some people that if you end up rolling badly regularly, because it's a winner-loser game. And those dice mean you lose, because ultimately, something like game, whether it's Games Workshop, whether it's one-page rules, whatever it is, it's about winning and losing. And if you roll badly, you will lose. That's just the way it goes. So I think that context makes a huge difference as well to how you can react to rolling badly. But if it's a story, well, every story needs that one kind of person.
I kind of, having streamed D&D games for a while, I have kind of come to the idea that I prefer rolling nat 1s than nat 20s.
Okay.
Because I find there is better storytelling capabilities out of a Nat 1 than a Nat 20. Nat 20, if I'm playing a rogue, like I was playing a rogue earlier this evening, and my rogue regularly rolls Nat 20s, has advantage and everything, is the super efficient rogue at doing what they do, always rolls high, rolls max damage, crits every time. But it's when I fail do I get better, more memorable story moments. And the same with like one of the first ever D&D game, streamed game I was in, was a 3-hour live stream game as part of a continued 1 to 2 shot. We were less than half an hour into the first stream, and my like level 9 rock gnome named Conwood rolled a Nat 1 against a Banshee and went from 100% hit points to 0, making death saves.
Wow.
And then I rolled a Nat 1 on my death save, and I was instantly out because I took some damage. So less than half an hour into my first ever live stream game, my character had died, and I had to stay on the live stream.
Well, I was about to say, do you stay on? Or
I stayed on. I was on screen, paying attention to everyone else, encouraged them to like use my corpse for whatever they wanted. That we had a really comedic moment where the barbarian tried to revive me, but didn't know medicine, so thought this meant like plugging their thumbs at my nostrils and all that stuff. But on another screen, I was frantically making a brand new character to bring in for the start of the next session, which is where we brought in a drow sorcerer bard called Shaw Connor.
Yeah. So I was just imagining you could have having to go, can I do my own sound effects still, even though I'm dead? Just like...
Well, I ended up doing that in some other games where, like, in a sequel game to that one, I played my backup character that I frantically made, and my character, through his own indecisions and the fact that he was under a curse at that point, decided to try and mess the party. Which we all agree was, we all do that because safety rules when you're playing storytelling games. And effectively, my character ended up becoming a thrall to another player and then got feeble-minded. So effectively, for all intents and purposes, I was a dog who could fire fireballs, but had no intelligence and stuff. And I basically played that on the screen by, if they asked me a question, I'd just growl at them. And we all had a laugh about it, and people were like, "Oh, we like that." But that all came from rolling really low and failing saves.
Yeah. And I think I just want to kind of throw in a little bit of kind of reflection in here at this point, because it's interesting that some people kind of hear about D&D and otherwise and are a bit like hesitant about it. But I find that I get more frustrated by playing Beetle Drive at churches. I tend to send my apologies to Beetle Drives. So Beetle Drives are the bits, if no one's played this before, it's like a beetle that has a component that the head is a 6, the body is something like a 1.
No, the body's a 6. The body's a 6 because you need a body first.
Yes, and then you've got a
head. Legs.
Is it antenna as well? I can't remember.
Legs, body, head, antennae.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And so you've got to get two kind of 3s and 2 4s and 2 5s, and then a 1 and a 6. And I find that really annoying. And they basically, they're just kind of at the top going to go, and on your marks, get set, go, and you just can't keep on rolling your dice until you get a 6, and then it's from that point on you can kind of build it up. And I just find it really annoying because I'm there kind of going, this is just a dice thing. There is no narrative, there's nothing else, and actually it comes down to people who are basically able to re-roll and roll their dice very quickly, and yes, there is luck in that with the dice. But for me, I'm just kind of going, but it feels as if it's just like reduced to the most simplest form, and it's just tedious, and I just get no enjoyment out of it whatsoever. But go on.
There's something on that where it's oh dear child. There's something in that where like there's a bit of discourse, at least the entire time I've been playing D&D, around people who have come from older editions where it did start off as an original war game, and those that have come in a bit later and see it more as a collective storytelling narrative game. And there is that kind of, you see those elements of, this is a win or lose game. We need to roll the maximum amount of stats. So you have people who will go out and try and design the most broken character combinations with the best items, the best weapons, any advantage they can get, they will press it because it comes from that war game route of this is a win or lose game. Whereas you have more people now who will see it as it's a collective storytelling game, and if they fluff if they're rolling a fireball and there's 3 points of damage because they rolled really low, they go, no, but they can spin off that narrative element to that. And I think there's some discourse in that about the place for all of it, because one of the pillars of D&D is combat along with exploration and other stuff, and there is space for that. I love playing in a game where actually I can be a little bit tactically minded in a battlefield and do something, but I also equally love the storytelling aspect. And I think it's as though they both diverged off a little bit. I think there's that kind of, yes, it's not the great schism, but it's getting there in terms of actually there are now more narrative based dice games which kind of draw upon the storytelling routes, while there are others who are trying to go more of the war game routes and bring it back into a TTRPG sense.
I think that's quite fascinating, really, about the part it plays of dice rolls, and of how we accept this as people with faith, maybe as well. Of does this kind of settle with us to kind of throw it all into the dice? But then in my mind, I've got two things that are conflicting. Really, is that first in the Old Testament they would like pull lots, wouldn't they? They would kind of and that's like playing real life, kind of who gets the shortest straw, who's and it's just like, wow, okay, we are being bold with that because actually we're trusting God to do this sort of thing. Whereas then on the other extent of this, we have, and I'll keep it with D&D, about the is it the deck of many things, which kind of for me is a little bit unsettling because it's very much like tarot kind of cards, and that suddenly kind of drops into this kind of like, I'm feeling a bit uneasy with this because they can kind of, and some of the decks actually do align with kind of tarot decks, and that for me just takes it too far the other way, and that you're kind of fortune telling and otherwise, whereas actually, at least in the D&D world, it is like a real life consequence, or in kind of inverted quotes, kind of real life consequence of that character, just as you would be pulling a deck out of a card for just as like a trick or any other kind of thing, or rolling your D100, which I've mentioned again. So it's a 53. You are immune to being intoxicated by alcohol for the next 5d6 days.
Ooh.
5 days. There we go. Sorry, Tim, you were looking something up. And
I actually brought up the deck of many things. Just for those that do not know, it is a magic item that has been in there for a number of years, and it is one of those major luck things where you could draw a card, and on the one hand, if you draw one of them, you gain 10,000 experience points and draw 2 more cards. Which, if they were doing XP leveling, that's actually that's a level up for some. Or a fun one is like a NPC of the GM's choice becomes hostile towards you, which is just amusing. While some of the more difficult ones are like Ruin, where all forms of wealth that you carry or own other than magic items are lost. Portable properties vanish. Businesses,
Wow.
buildings, and lands that you own are lost in a way that alters reality the least. Any documentation that proves you should own something lost is in this card also disappears.
Wow. It's like proper
There's one of them like your
brutal.
There's one of them where it's your soul is absorbed into a gem, and that gem is on another plane of existence, guarded by a creature of immense power. So in Critical Role, they had it as they had that incident actually happen in game, where the barbarian had the deck of many things, and on their last session of their first campaign, pulled that card, and they did a couple of spin-off games from that. But they ended up being in a circle of hell, which was guarded by a fallen demigod. That kind of stuff.
And I think as soon as you started kind of putting hell and demons in there as well as the deck of many things, for some Christians it may just get a little bit too kind of unsettling. But I guess it depends on how broad-minded you are and otherwise. And I think
speaking as a minister who plays principally chaos armies in Warhammer, bother me. But I understand that it would bother others. I think for me, when coming back to that thing about dice and kind of that randomness and how it sits with us, it was doing my sabbatical and exploring faith and tabletop war games, hobby, role playing, all of that kind of stuff. That actually made me realise that I'm incredibly comfortable with it, in that randomness appears to be written into the universe. And if we believe in a creator, then we believe in a creator who's created a seemingly random universe, in the sense that I mean that quantum mechanics allow us to have building blocks of the universe in two places at once and at two times at once, until we check where it is and then we discover where it is. But until that point, it is genuinely in both places at both times. That's just crazy. But that's the universe our creator has made. And it occurred to me that if we believe in a God who loves and wants us to love and draws us to love, and we hold that love isn't it is not controlled, because if it's controlled, it's not love. Then love can only exist in a random universe. It's the only universe in which it can live.
So you're talking more like a bit of the omnipotence of God rather than the omnipotence of God, in some sense.
Yeah.
A God that is not. So for those that don't know, omnipotence comes from some of the work done by Thomas Ord, and it's the idea that it's basically that idea that God is love, and it is that if God is love first and foremost, that love is not controlling. Therefore, in a world where if God is all-knowing and all-powerful, why does God not step in to stop something? Where actually omnipotence looks at the idea of being God is there in a relationship with us, in a loving relationship that is not controlling. Therefore, we are free to make our own decisions in that.
For once, I wouldn't use the big long words, but yes, and therefore, yes, the world has to be actually for love to exist in that sense. The universe has to be random. Because the moment it's not, the moment it's controlled, the moment it's a closed loop, the moment it's a closed system in which God is literally requiring things to happen and empowering things to happen, there's no love. It's not love, it's something else. And therefore, I actually really enjoy playing around with dice and odds and randomness, because actually it speaks of the world in which we operate as Christians.
And I think it's good and, dare I say, healthy to be able to compartmentalize that and to be able to sort of say, actually, you know what, it is just a game. you know, it is and actually there may be emotions tied with that. There might be a journey and adventure that we go on. There may be sadness, there may be heroism, and yet it can just kind of come down to the roll of a dice, and it can be fun. And I think it can also enable us to kind of live or push kind of ideas, ideals, and kind of things through our little personas, our little avatars, you know, and to kind of enable us to think even deeper about life. I do love the fact about the kind of randomness of the world, that we still have kind of computer programs that can't kind of efficiently produce random dice rolls. They've kind of got to go to an algorithm. They've got to. It's more likely to kind of create kind of order and a set kind of kind of.
I can't
range.
virtual tabletops. If you talk to anyone in TTRPGs on any kind of social media for more than 10 minutes and talk about dice rolls on virtual tabletops, they are either the computer's really good to you today and the algorithm's really great and you are rolling really high, or you are the complete opposite. And we've had it where, because me and some of the players I'm with, we are really just anti-virtual tabletops for this reason only. We counted in one session how many times the dice rolled above a 10. Just the dice, no modifiers, just the dice. Twice in a combat session did we roll above a 10.
Wow. So
we're rolling lots of dice quite often, and even the DM wasn't rolling above a 10, which turned one round combat into 3 hours of annoyance.
The GW game that's made it most into digital successfully with a crossover player base is Blood Bowl. Their kind of rugby stroke American football, which has video game equivalents which are pretty close to the tabletop. And if you go into a group of Blood Bowl players and they're talking about the video game rather than the tabletop game, the one thing they will complain about every single time is the RNG. Absolutely every time. Oh, you know, it's not the same as playing tabletop because the RNG doesn't, but it's not dice.
But I think we are going to need to come to an end. We've just got 9 o'clock, but I realised that we started a little bit earlier, later, dare I say. But it is an interesting thing, isn't it, about just kind of that freedom. I've also got in my mind about kind of about security algorithms, and it's much easier for, is it Microsoft or is it Apple who have the wall of lava lamps that they use as a real life engine to determine random. Is it even a security? I think it's like some sort of software company that has a wall of lava lamps, and that is used as like a validating system in order to kind of bypass any algorithm or system that might generally kind of if you kind of can hack it, because it is literally just kind of blobs of oil going up and down in water, which is much easier to kind of or much harder to kind of to bypass, to get past. You know, they'll have to be able to get a live link to it rather than any other possible medium way or otherwise. And I just find that really fascinating that we do in the world work out a much better way of random rather than computers and otherwise. And as clever as we are, we still can't kind of create that kind of algorithm to randomness. So God is a God of love and random. I think that's quite nice to end on. We are going to come to Geeky Gallery very quickly because I'm aware of time, and it's back to Geeky Gallery, not Dice Gallery this time. And I've got to say, I think there's quite a few of our own contributions this evening, fellas. So Tim, you've got your tea being organised.
Yes. Bird and Blend opened up their store in Lincoln officially. I was there for the official opening. I actually picked my son up from nursery and my partner from work, and we went straight up there just to buy a cup more tea. But I've had these tins for a while, but I've never decanted all the bags. So I've got 15 caddies which fit all really nice and neatly into a repurposed bread bin.
Fantastic.
And yes, what I do at work, what I do for drinking at work now.
Fantastic. A little picture on the right hand side of the screen is Dizzy, fantastic Dizzy, which this is got to say, it was a fantastic find for me because I've been used to playing Dizzy on the Spectrum when I was little, but this is the first time having it on a cartridge, and therefore I can just kind of throw it into the Mega Drive and it plays automatically. And real nostalgia for me. And the music, the sounds, even the same quests and things, which I've forgotten most of them. And my son playing it, he was just like, "Oh, these controls are rubbish," and it's like, welcome to the 80s. It's like a little Dizzy's tumble roll. Tim, you've got your Lord of the Rings deck is in here somewhere. So there's a bit of conversation.
You can see Frodo peering out from just underneath another board game, from behind more magic cards, next to some minis.
Fantastic. Very good. Tom, this is some of your painting of your or priming of your characters. I think on the next slide also they'll have a next progression. Is that the next progression of those same ones?
Yeah.
That is. Also,
so which army are you currently playing with?
So for those that are listening and can't see, so this is the latest release of GW's Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. And this is the Vespids, who are a flying insectoid alien race, and I am painting them with a wasp colour scheme. So they're mainly black with yellow stripes on their main body and some yellow on some of their weaponry. So that, and then next to that, is this year's Christmas Winter Village releases of Santa's Post Office and delivery truck. So they are waiting, including hot air balloon. So I will look forward to building those when December comes.
Fantastic. They look awesome. And I think, that is the end of Geeky Gallery. Thank you, gents. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for sharing your interests, conversation, your dice, and otherwise. I'm going to do one last roll of the dice. It's a number 9, which is you cast Magic Missile as a 5th level spell. That's number
3,
9.
4, 5, 6, 7 darts at 1d4 each. That's not bad. And Magic Missile always hits, so you don't have to roll to hit.
I was going to say, I've actually closed the book, but that is how my first character died. He actually rolled a D. I can't remember which number he got now, but it was a fireball centered on self and almost took out the whole party. Fortunately, the DM's NPC was hiding behind a tree within range to pull the rest of them away and resuscitate them as my character was well and truly gone. So
to bring it back to the RNG a little bit, just very briefly, Baldur's Gate, they were doing some hardcore runs for people when they brought all the new hard modes out. And one streamer started a game as a level 1 wild magic sorcerer. They did the preamble, woke up on the ship, cast arcane armor on themselves. Mage armor, that's it. Different setting. Mage armor, causing them to roll the wild magic table, which caused them to cast a fireball centered on themselves as a 1st level sorcerer, and instantly died. It was, I think it's the shortest game of Baldur's Gate for a complete run, because it was about 10 seconds.
Sounds like the kind of thing I do.
And definitely what my character did. So I can't really comment. So thank you, folks. Thank you for joining. I feel as if I almost want to re-edit the very first kind of bit and do a bit of a hi, welcome to Faith and Geekery.
This has been Faith and Geekery, hosted expertly by Mark with guests Tom and Tim.
Yes. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your conversation, your chat. And remember, folks, to roll well, and even when you don't, have fun. God bless and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.